and guarded at the entrance by two fiery dragons. Within it is a pit full of scorpions, lizards, and serpents, and at the bottom of this place flows the fountain of beauty and health. All who wash in it become, if ugly, beautiful, and if beautiful, beautiful forever; if old, young, and if young, young forever. Judge then, Avenant, if I can quit my kingdom without carrying with me some of this miraculous water." "Madam," replied Avenant, "you are already so beautiful that you require it not. But I am an unfortunate ambassador whose death you desire. I will obey you, though I know I shall never return." So he departed with his only friends, his horse, and his faithful dog Cabriole, while all who met him looked at him compassionately, pitying so pretty a youth bound on such a hopeless errand. But however kindly they addressed him, Avenant rode on, and answered nothing, for he was too sad at heart. He reached a mountain side, where he sat down to rest, leaving his horse to graze and Cabriole to run after the flies. He knew that the Grotto of Darkness was not far off, yet he looked about him like one who sees nothing. At last he perceived a rock, as black as ink, whence came a thick smoke, and in a moment appeared one of the two dragons, breathing out flames. It had a yellow and green body, and claws, and a long tail. When Cabriole saw the monster, the poor little dog hid himself in terrible fright. But Avenant resolved to die bravely, so taking a vial which the princess had given him, he prepared to descend into the cave. "Cabriole," said he, "I shall soon be dead. Then fill this vial with my blood, and carry it to the Fair One with Golden Locks, and afterwards to the king my master, to show him I have been faithful to the last." While he was thus speaking, a voice called, "Avenant, Avenant!" and he saw an owl sitting on a hollow tree. Said the owl, "You cut the net in which I was caught, and I vowed to recompense you. Now is the time. Give me the vial. I know every corner of the Grotto of Darkness. I will fetch you the water of beauty." Delighted beyond words, Avenant delivered up his vial. The owl flew with it into the grotto, and in less than half an hour reappeared, bringing it quite full and well corked. Avenant thanked her with all his heart, and joyfully took once more the road to the city. The Fair One with Golden Locks had no more to say. She consented to accompany him back, with all her suite, to his master's court. On the way thither she saw so much of him, and found him so charming, that Avenant might have married her himself, had he chosen; but he would not have been false to his master for all the beauties under the sun. At length they arrived at the king's city, and the Fair One with Golden Locks became his spouse and queen. But she still loved Avenant in her heart, and often said to the king her lord, "But for Avenant I should not be here. He has done all sorts of impossible deeds for my sake. He has fetched me the water of beauty, and I shall never grow old. In short, I owe him everything." And she praised him in this sort so much, that at length the king became jealous, and though Avenant gave him not the slightest cause of offence, he shut him up in the same high tower once more, but with irons on his hands and feet, and a cruel jailer besides, who fed him with bread and water only. His sole companion was his little dog Cabriole. When the Fair One with Golden Locks heard of this, She reproached her husband for his ingratitude, and then, throwing herself at his knees, implored that Avenant might be set free. But the king only said, "She loves him," and refused the prayer. The queen entreated no more, but fell into a deep melancholy. When the king saw it, he thought she did not care for him because he was not handsome enough, and that if he could wash his face with her water of beauty, it would make her love him more. He knew that she kept it in a cabinet in her chamber, where she could find it always. Now it happened that a waiting maid, in cleaning out this cabinet, had the very day before knocked down the vial, which was broken in 1,000 pieces, and all the contents were lost. Very much alarmed, she then remembered seeing in a cabinet belonging to the king a similar vial. This she fetched and put in the place of the other one, in which was the water of beauty. But the king's vial contained the water of death. It was a poison used to destroy great criminals, that is, noblemen, gentlemen, and such like, instead of hanging them or cutting their heads off, like common people. They were compelled to wash their faces with this water, upon which they fell asleep and woke no more. So it happened that the king, taking up this vial, believing it to be the water of beauty, washed his face with it, fell asleep, and died. Cabriole heard the news, and gliding in and out among the crowd which clustered round the young and lovely widow, whispered softly to her, "Madame, do not forget poor Avenant." If she had been disposed to do so, the sight of his little dog would have been enough to remind her of him, his many sufferings, and his great fidelity. She rose up without speaking to anybody, and went straight to the tower where Avenant was confined. There with her own hands she struck off his chains, and putting a crown of gold on his head, and a purple mantle on his shoulders, said to him, "Be king, and my husband." Avenant could not refuse, for in his heart he had loved her all the time. He threw himself at her feet, and then took the crown and sceptre, and ruled her kingdom like a king. All the people were delighted to have him as their sovereign. The marriage was celebrated in all imaginable pomp, and Avenant and the fair one with golden locks lived and reigned happily together all their days. End of The Fair One with Golden Locks. Read by Lars Rolander.